Good morning, dear participants. I'll go with my presentation. I welcome you all for this morning first session. Good morning, one and all. Okay, this is my brief introduction. As we have a wide spectrum of participants, we have all HODs from different colleges, students, colleagues, faculties. So I would just like to brief that right now, presently I'm working as head in the electrical engineering department. I completed my PhD in 2018, which recently I've completed. And my areas of interest are power system, renewables, and of course now I've added project management to it with fax devices. Moving ahead. Now today I'll be covering the most important topics of solar power plant and water lift irrigation system from management perspectives. So I'll be covering 2 case studies along with I'll be covering very basic about the CPM part, which my students usually know. But as the spectrum is quite wide, I would like to cover both for everyone. So only critical path method I will cover in short, in a nutshell. Then few conclusions that you can draw from the 2 case studies from management perspective. And later on, in the end, we will have some discussions. So this is the brief outline. Now, project management as such has number of definitions. So project management and power system are totally interrelated with each other, with management as a relative term. So every project requires management. And today I am going to highlight about the management in the 2 case studies. So management is an important part and is going to play a big role. And I'm sure quite engineers, quite students who are interested nowadays in management. So now they can work parallelly with engineering as well as their management skills, and both can combine together. And of course, if you have technical skills also, you require management skills. It's actually 2 sides of one coin. So there are many definitions and all the definitions goes correct. Here in this case, project management means organizing, managing goals, meeting requirements, meeting objectives. Management also means time management, because if the time is missed, if the target is missed, then of course everything is missed. So in this pandemic situation, you can also, you have heard a lot about the medicines that are coming up daily, COVID-19. And this is a competition. Again, this is a time management. This is a time game. So management also means multitasking, management, achieving your goals. And of course, the most important point which I'm missing is the cash flow analysis. So management also will require some kind of cash flow, because unless and until there is a cash flow, things will not work. So in the big projects, cash flow plays a very important role. And of course, cash flow analysis is always required to complete any project. Okay? Anyway, this is all the basic things. You can go with all your definitions and you all mix it up. You will see there is a place that is project management. Now these are some of the basic styles, basic stages in the design, but you can see that the middle loop is a closed loop. So this is a general diagram which everybody might be knowing. But I just want to tell you that every project starts and ends. So in the middle, there is a management where there is a closed loop system. So you have to plan, design properly, you have to monitor. So it's a closed loop system. You have to monitor, continuously rectify yourself, and you have to execute. So this story goes like start, in the middle you manage, and finally you have to close. So these are some of the stages in designing a project. Now these are some basic slides. Initially what I'm going to cover is just a perspective. So there are external interventions. So you require directions initially. So if you have a direction, of course the project will move in the right direction. And for that you require coordination. So project just moving with proper direction without coordination will also not reach the end. So You require direction initially, then you require coordination. So coordination can be people management, can be departmental management. So final achievement, to achieve your own target, you require control, because this control is a closed loop system, which along with the coordination and control and along with the direction. So these are the three external interventions which will drive your project to reach the goal. Okay, so this is an internal part of project management. Initially, you require direction, then less of coordination and control. In the middle of the project, you require coordination and control, and in the last, you require mostly the coordination to complete it. So you can see the direction is going down because initially you have given a thrust to the project. Then in the middle, you have tried to match with the coordination control, and the last what you require is again coordination control to wind it up to complete it. So this is a kind of a chart which gives you that what is initial stage, then middle stage, and what the third stage, that is the last stage. So if it's a 3-stage project, then the first stage will be the starting phase, second the middle stage, which is very important, and lastly it will be the ending stage where you have to wind up everything. Now again, moving ahead, these are very basic slides. Just initially I want to give you a perspective from management point of view, and then I will move on to my case study. This can be implemented in the case studies. Now every activity begins and every activity ends. So there is a starting and ending point. In middle, it's a time span. So for completing one activity to the second activity, there is a time gap. This time limit is actually given by A, and the activities to be completed is 1 and 2. So starting activity, ending activity, with the time span, you have to complete it. So this is called as an activity network. Now this network is not that simple to carry out actually, because there are many dummy activities also sometimes you have to perform. Like you have laborers with you, but you are not having any permission. So you have to give them certain kind of dummy work so that by the time the project jumps in, then your project will start. But you require employee at that time. So you have to give them certain kind of, you have to keep them engaged. And normally this all the software companies do. So many persons are on the bench. That means they are actually doing certain kind of activities which may not be directly related to the project, but the human resource is available with the company. If and when required, the company's project jumps in, and this force will be deputed for that. So this kind is a normal situation if you in any software company nowadays, even in big companies they are doing, because in every project what you require is a people management, and you should have people ready with their different skill sets. So normally in software companies, what the companies are doing is they are forcing the people to learn new skills, to acquire new skills, so that if the project comes in, they will be ready to attack the project. This kind is a normal strategies that are mostly you can see in the software companies. Nowadays, you can see there are a lot of jobs coming up in the survey companies in a different areas, in the electric vehicles, for example. So in electric vehicles, if they are going to come up in the market after 5 years, so you require certain kind of input, that where the market can be penetrated, where there will be a lot of sales. So how the technical pricing, what is the paying capacity of all the people living in that area. So all this coordination is actually done by a management team. So moving or coming to my topic now, this is a critical path method. So this is normal by the maximum time span. So if you have to complete activity 1 and 2 with the time span of 3 days, if you have to complete activity which starts and parallel, it requires 4 days. So what is the maximum time required to complete from first to third is maximum 4 days. So how is a path calculated? It is calculated by the maximum span required. required to complete. If you see ABC activity, activity 1 and 3 gets completed in 4 days, but activity 1 and 4 gets completed in 14 days. So from first point, that is starting point, to reaching up to fourth point, you require maximum 14 days. So that is how a span is being calculated. And then you decide what is the path that take, so that parallelly in 14 days, you can complete activity 2 also, 3 also, and 4. This is how the activity network works. These are, nowadays, everything is moving in a software. So what you do is, now there is intelligent controllers, which is, we call it as artificial intelligence. So these are old traditional methods now being converted into artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence will work according to these different models of activity networks and give you a different model itself. And that can be with the experience, because you have trained the model with the neural network. So you can train the model, and the activity network, the software will give you its own model, which will tell how you can save your time to complete the project with the minimum time. So there are two models nowadays you can get, with the maximum time as well as minimum. So this is how artificial intelligence is going to play a role in future in project management. Okay, so this is activities, these are nodes, and these are the times. I have just created a sample activity plan. So this is called as activity network. So from 1 to 2, the time required is A. Then from 2, there are parallel 3 activities, so which requires B time, C time, D time. Calculate the maximum time. So see, D requires maximum time. So from 1 to 2, which is an intermediate stage, and then to reach 5, you require maximum A plus B time. So if that is maximum time, then B and C activity will be parallelly get completed. So this is how the things work in project management, by considering what can be done parallelly, so that within the time frame, every parallel and multiple activities can be completed. Now CPM paths are critical paths. I mean, you cannot leave them. These are the activities to be completed at any point of time. So calculate the maximum time, and then you also calculate what is the activities that have to be completed parallelly, or as like in first 3 case ABC. I'm explaining this in details because there are few participants who are new. There are few participants who have already started. But anyway, my job is to tell you everything so that everybody can understand. I'm considering everybody as a layman. Maybe few participants may be already knowing the things, but still I'm considering it that you all are new to attend this webinar. So that's why I'm covering all the details. You see, it starts from 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4. So you can see 14 days is the maximum time. And parallel, you are considering the activity 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so that is the critical path. So from A to C, maximum days is 14 days. So how to calculate the path now? I'll tell you to form a network first. So this network is actually formed because of this activity nodes and time paragraph, or maybe the tabular part what is given to you. So this is a chart which is given to you, and this is the activity network that you have created from this tabular data. Now here in this case, A, B, C, D all are representing times, while 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are representing the activities to be completed. Now what I have done is I have calculated and added the time. So you can see from 1 to 2 activities, in bracket you can see there is time. So 0 plus 3 becomes 3. So for completing activity 2, 3 days are required. For completing activity 3, 13 days are required. So similarly, I've calculated, I've added the time, because see, from 1 to 2 it's 3, but 2 to 3 there are 2 paths. So there is a D path also and there is B path also. But B path requires 4 days, while D path requires 10 days. So what is the maximum time? 10 plus 3 is 13. So I've written 13. So in a In a similar fashion, I've created this network considering the maximum time required. If there are two activities ending at point 3, suppose for point 3 there are two arrows that are ending. So from D also and from B also. So which you should take? You should take D because D has maximum time. Similarly, for 6, there are 3 arrows. So which one is coming from 2, one is coming from 3, and one is coming from 5. But if you add the maximum time span, then it will be 19. Okay, so 13, and G, you can see G, 6 is written. So 6 plus 13 becomes 19. So maximum time consideration I've considered. Now this is called as a forward path. And the reverse path, the starting point and ending point value. Starting means it always starts with a 0 time, and ending time is always the maximum time that has to be considered. So while coming back, you consider the end point as maximum and then go on subtracting. And then you will get a path where the difference will be 0. So you can see here 19 minus 19 is 0. So 6 activity, the difference is 0 because it will always be 0 because that is the reverse path now, reverse path calculation. So reverse path, now you are subtracting everything. So you can see here in activity 3, there are both are 13. In activity 2, both are 3. In activity 1, both are zeros. So the critical path will be if the difference of both is 0, then you mark those activities. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 6. If you see, their difference is 0, so that becomes your critical path. Actually, that path you have to follow in the project. You cannot jump from activity 1 to 3, neglecting activity 2, and you cannot jump from 3 to 6, neglecting activity 4 and 5. So this is how the things are going to work. So critical path means 1 to 2 has to be completed, 2 to 3 has to be completed, and 3 to 6 has to be completed. 4 and 5 parallel activities will be completed because the time span is maximum, and the time span required to complete 4 and 5 activities are comparatively less. So I hope you have understood what a critical path means, and this is very important. Nowadays it is calculated by artificial intelligence. So you have to give input to the software, and the artificial intelligence with the training of neural network will calculate its own path. And even you can develop your own fuzzy models for this. Of course, these are new fuzzy logics and then neural networks and artificial intelligence. But what are they? Actually, they are only the old traditional methods being converted into new methods. So ultimately, the base is always with the new traditional methods. Similarly, there is a PERT method which is called as performance review systems, performance review techniques. But I'm not going to cover right now because that's not required right now. It's a broad topic. I've already told. Project management is a very broad topic. Every single point actually is a nucleus, and there are many things revolving around it. Okay, so I would say that it is just a point in the ocean, or maybe just a drop in the ocean. Okay. Anyway, moving ahead. Now, I wanted to relate this project management in installing a solar power plant. I'll be stressing not much on the technical aspects because that data you can always get from my side anytime. Now I'll be telling you the stresses, or I'll be telling you a guidance how you can install this plant with minimum efforts considering time management or project management. Now there are a lot of technical hitches. There may be technicalities which you may be interested in, but right now I am stressing here from moving ahead. Now, if you want to really install a solar power plant, you may require certain things. You may require panels, you may require inverters, which is called as grid-tied on-grid inverter. Intelligent will understand that how much solar power it is going to take in, and it has to invert. And of course, because your load is AC, so you have to go give it to the load. So this is called as grid, and inverters are tied together. Now there is a charge controller, always it maintains the charge of the batteries, or maybe it is not allowing the reverse flow of current from the supply to back to the panels. So the panels will be protected. Okay, this is called as charge controller. Unidirectional meters. Unidirectional meters means only in one direction. So you may always ask the question, why unidirectional meter? There can be bidirectional meter. So of course, the next is net meter, which is bidirectional meter. But both meters are required. I will tell you later on how and why both meters are required. Structure for mounting the panels. You cannot just keep the panels as it is. You require a structure for it. There are on-grid and off-grid. So on-grid means, of course, no battery system is there. Whatever is grid, same grid system, you can take, and you can, if you really want to take the supply from the grid, you can take. If you really want to give it to the grid, you can give. So it's like an exchange, bidirectional exchange of power between the grid system, that is solar system, and you are doing it to load. Off-grid system is something different. Off-grid system has a battery systems involved in it. So what battery systems are, you have to give the solar supply to the battery. So the solar system will charge the battery like an inverter, and then inverter will pick up the load. So inverter is throughout continuously getting the supply from the batteries. So off-grid is like whatever is coming from solar, batteries are always charged. So if the batteries are charged, they are giving your supply to the inverter, balancing your load. Okay, so this is off-grid system, but this is not very popular because the battery cost gets added to the system, and as well as after 3 years you have to replace the batteries because there is a lifespan for it. Okay, now these are certain accessories like DC combiner box. You have to combine all the DC cables and then you have to join together. So this is accessories. You'll not believe there are almost 60 to 70 accessories supporting the solar power plants, and I have the list of it. Okay, there are AC surge protection system, then manual disconnect switches, many switches, in fact, if you see all the panel also, it will require all the screws to tighten it, everything. Okay, so total counting together makes almost 60 to 70 of total material that is required to, and even one nut is not there, even one screw is not there, it will not work. So that is how management skills are involved in such kind of projects. Okay, so these are some of the few basic things which I have considered. So these are all prerequisites required to complete your solar plant. Now we'll be moving ahead. Now generally in a solar power plant, what is happening is, this is a very basic diagram. So there is a panel, there is a grid tied inverter, there is a meter which is called as solar meter. Now this solar meter will be a bidirectional meter or it will be a unidirectional meter. You have to only tell me. Okay, so this is a house, then of course this is a conventional type of meter, transformer and grid. So now you can see here there are two meters, solar meter, meter 2 and meter 1, which is conventional type of meter, meter 1. Okay, so in solar meter, it is calculating the energy being generated from the solar plant, and meter 1 is calculating the energy generated, or you are going to take it from the grid to transformer. And this there is household. I'm covered here a single house, but of course there can be multiple houses. Okay, so now with this I'll go back to the second diagram so that you'll understand it more clearly. Now you see here what is changed. Now from the first diagram to the next diagram, I've changed the meter, which is called as net meter rooftop system. Now you can see first meter is a solar generation meter. So of course that has to be unidirectional meter. Why unidirectional? Because solar is going to only generate. And so whatever it is going to generate will be calculated by meter 1. And then comes meter 2, because in meter 2, you are going to take the supply from the grid and even give it back to the grid. So your house is acting as a load center, is acting as a generating unit now. So rather than load center, it becomes both now. It becomes load as well as source. So this is controlled by the distribution panel. So there is a switch. This is called as automatic switch, or maybe intelligence controller. So this intelligent controller will try to exchange the power bidirectionally with the grid, and that calculation will be measured by the net meters. Moving ahead, now this is a very clear diagram for you. You can see solar PV panel, then there is a fuse, DC fuse, because this supply comes from DC, then there is DC to AC grid inverter, then there is a unidirectional meter. This unidirectional meter is actually calculating whatever generation the solar panels are going to do. And the second comes the distribution network with net meter and the consumer distribution panel. And of course, a lot of protection system has to be installed. It's like AC surge protection, and as well as you can see there is a lightning arresters also being, lightning protection systems are also being given. In DC solar systems, normally this lighting scheme protection is something different. It is not like the normal lighting system arrangement that we have in an AC system, because you have to protect the panel from the lightning. So there is a huge bell type of structure which is installed even at the top, almost around 15 to 20 feet above the solar panels, where the solar panels are placed actually. So that is how the lightning system plays a very important role. The grounding has to be very properly done, and there are a lot of details now the government has given. Now you can see your electricity bills have suddenly increased. There are many issues with the electricity bills. This is the recent news that you have got 3 times, 4 times bills. So now people are now tempting themselves to go for solar power plants to install on their own. There are few do's and don'ts who should do it. I'll be covering in later slides. So this is how the complete diagrams comes in. Now here you can actually see it with a Gantt chart. Now with the Gantt chart, civil mounting work takes normally 2 months. Parallelly, you can, after second month, you can start with your structure work, because civil work, mounting panel, this is when your all permissions are done. See, if you come to the 4th point, which is net metering, I have started right from the first month, because that process is going to take it's going to take some long time. It's a commercial metering system. So you start parallelly your net metering process, as well as you start your civil work parallelly. Then only with minimum time you can complete this project. Structure you can buy it later on, and you can see the procurement of solar panel. This you miss middle of your civil work gets completed, because the reason is very clear. The solar panel pricing is going to change very often. It may reduce, it may increase, it may swing both sides. Nowadays, if you see, the prices have increased. Maybe people were expecting that the prices will come down. So this is a game. This is a game, because if the electricity and the pricing goes up, the solar panel will also go up. So it's a relative business. Okay? So of course, you have to initially chip in the amounts. So there is economics to calculate. So procurement of solar panels, you can start it from 2nd month or even the 3rd month, looking at the market scenario. Net metering process, you can start right from the beginning. And electrical installation work, you can cover it up at the end, last 2 months. So normally if the project is of 5 months or 6 months project, then civil work it start initially, net metering process will be start parallelly, and installation of electrical work can start from the 4th month. So I've prepared a Gantt chart for that. So this is called as Gantt chart. So here you can actually mark your activities parallelly, that what is going correctly. So this is a closed loop system again. You have to monitor it. Okay. Now moving ahead with the net metering system. So net metering Gantt chart also you can go for it. So you can go for a micro analysis of everything and prepare your charts so that your project will not even delay for one day. Load calculation, this is most important thing. I'll give you a practical example. There were certain was trying to install a solar plant, but his load extension was not there. Means what? Suppose your housing load you have given for 2 kilowatts, suppose, and you have to install a 3 kilowatt plant. Now your 3 kilowatt plant is more. Of course, 3 kilowatt is maximum capacity. It is not going to be there for continuous rating. But still, I'll take a relative example that your load is 1 kilowatt and you want to install a 5 kilowatt. So it's a huge difference now, 4 kilowatt. So first you have to apply for load extension, that my load is going to increase from 1 to almost 3 or 4, and that is the reason I am going for a higher capacity 5 kilowatts. So load extension, if it is not there, you have to apply it first, and it takes 5 to 10 days time to normally get approval from the authorities that your load extension is allowed. Because load extension means you are permitting, you are asking for a permission from the government distribution company to increase your load. Means their scheduling or basically their load is going to increase, their current capacities are going to increase. So load extension takes normal time. If it is a huge load, like there is a house and I want to start my commercial business, so the load is, because I'm going to add motors to it, a lot of switchgear assembly to it, so of course my load is going to increase exorbitantly. During those conditions, I have to take, the permission may increase even from 10 days to even for a month, because load calculations increase is not that easy. You have to provide all the necessary documents that why you are starting this business, then why you want load extension, everything has to be done. Now it is saying that we will be doing this all with a comparatively lesser time, but of course the minimum time is 10 days. Okay. Now suppose you want to go for subsidy or you want to go for net metering, the documents which are required are house tax receipts, electricity bill, Aadhaar card and PAN card, and photograph of the person of a household. This is absolutely required if you really want to apply for net metering. And in the last 15 days, you can do your approval and testing, because now your plant is installed. So I've just pinpointedly in the microscopic point of view, I've covered how it can be completed with minimum 15 days. So if you start it parallelly, you have to see the load calculation, the form requirements and approval testing. If everything you are having with you, 15 days is the maximum time where you can get your net meter installed. This is the fastest process. Otherwise it may get delayed. Delayed can be in two thumbs. Suppose your load extension is not there and your load is exorbitantly increasing, then it may take some time. Otherwise, second thing is there is a theft involved. There was one case which I came across, was people wanted to extend the load, and finally then it was why the net metering was not approved. So we tried to take a feedback of it. So later on it came to our notice that there was a theft involved. So during that case also it takes a lot of time. So load extension and theft case, power theft case, are very serious and they have a record of it. So during that, those conditions to install solar plant may require more time. If the normal span is for 3 to 6 months maximum for installation, then it may even extend to for a year. Okay, so this consideration you should consider. Now this is a work breakdown. So you give your work to many persons, like you are hiring some consultant for designing. You may require supplier because panels nobody is going to manufacture, so you have to only procure it from outside. Civil contractor will do civil works, electrical contractor will do the electrical wiring work, installation of inverters, DC switches, combining joiner box. So it's a conglomeration of all. Basically it's a teamwork, and all the team has to work in coordination with control to achieve the project at the minimum time. So this is normally to be done for large projects, which is called as megawatt projects. Okay? So there is a 500, 600 megawatts project. So everybody has to work with coordination, unless and until it is to be done, the project cannot be completed in time. Okay, so require proper design, then erection, then commission. So your team has to be ready. So suppose there is a person who is the owner of it, the consultant will always provide the designs with proper time limits. The supplier will provide the material with proper time. All the civil work in the given time frame. And last come the electrical contractors work, where there is a joiners, the wire system that can be of course started parallelly as the panels are, but of course after civil work is complete. So this is called as work breakdown structure. Huge work has to be break in number of pieces. Okay, so I hope you have understood this. Now these are some of the technical details, but I'll show you how this panels are normally kept. So the panel size normally is kept between north to south, and you calculate a PV curve. So at what maximum point you are going to get the voltage and current? By just testing, by just tilting the angles, you can get this, and this is a huge test. So there are nowadays software available. You, for different locations, you put the latitude and longitude, and then you find out what is the maximum power. So there nowadays softwares are available for this. Otherwise, this is normally done by trial and error basis. And what has been concluded is normally the latitude and longitudinal angle has to be taken into consideration. So this is how a PV curve is to be calculated and established. PV, and during this PV curve, it is maximum, what is called as MPPT, so maximum power point tracking, and then you can go for it. Okay? So this is how just a panel installation is done. You can see here the civil work, the panels are just tilted. It's old technology, but because nowadays you get a big panel, these are small panels, of course. So these were used previously for old projects. So this is how the things are done. Okay, so now there are a lot of risk. Project management and risk management are two sides again of one coin. Civil work is delayed, everything is delayed, because unless and until civil work is completed, you cannot fit your pump. If the structure is not properly designed to fit the panels, you have ordered 325 watts of panel and you have designed it for 80 watts. Of course, the size will go wrong. So your panels will not fit. Then you will try to push it up. Things will not work properly. Net metering procedure and shading issues. There was one case I remember. There was project of solar project going on, and just besides, in the backside, there was a huge building project which was coming up. So at that time there was nothing. So they've installed the solar project. Building work cropped up, and you'll be very surprised that if the building has the house, height of the house, there was huge shading problem. There was no sunlight actually coming. So wrong position. So these shading issues will lessen your wattage, and of course you will get less power. So this has to be also calculated while you, is there any building or any trees or something obstruction which is going to come up in future? If not, then you should install it. Otherwise this will create a huge problem for you. You cannot always remove your plant. It's not that handy. Net metering procedure I've already explained. It may take time if it's a theft issue, if it's the load extension issue. Permission from distribution companies, if it is proper, everything documentation is proper, it takes maximum 15 days. Cash flow analysis. It's like if you have a 1 lakh project and if you have only 20,000 in hand, and you will say that my bank loan is going to be there, and then when the bank is going to release my amount, then only I can give it. So things may get stuck up. And again, it's a very volatile market. It's a very volatile market because the prices are going to vary a lot from each month to month, even from days to days. So you have to keep in track how the prices are going to go down or prices are going to go up. People initially believe that the prices of solar plant will only go down, but there is a reverse case now. The prices of solar panels have gone up because of many issues, many traditional trades issues, because China market is going at a different stage. We are not going to procure from them. So all this will also add to the volatility of the market. Now there are a lot of problems also associated with the solar plants. You have to first calculate the returns on the investment. I'll say, if you're going to get a 1,000 rupees bill, don't go for it. It's not for your case. Only go for solar plants if your bills are about 10,000, 8,000, about 10,000, 11,000, like that. So it's a huge amount that you are going to get, and it's a huge, and you have also commercial plant, maybe some commercial business in your house only. Then you may definitely go for solar plants, because it is going to reduce you in the long term payback period. You're calculating your base loads. Base loads means if there are certain night, don't go for it. If you are going to run for only daytime, go for it, because the base loads only with solar plant is going to be supported in the daytime if it is an on-grid plant. Off-grid plant, of course, battery issues are there. What are you going to do with number of batteries after 3 years, 4 years? So there is a huge battery scrap that will be formed. So off-grid plants are to be planned very stipulously. You really have a big plan after 3-4 years. This is a myth, or this is a concept that if the grid fails, your plant will remain on. No. If the grid fails, your plant will also remain off. So there is a security switch. This security switch works with the grid. If your grid, in certain case, that lights are off, the grid is off, there is a maintenance issue, your plant will also not work. So plant will also go off. So plant will work only if the grid is on. One case I would like to discuss with you: if you have 3 kilowatts plant, suppose only single meters, that is only it is unidirectional meters, there is no net meter, then it's a huge problem, because that 3 kilowatt plant is also acting as a load, and whatever it is going to generate will go to the grid, or maybe you are utilizing it, but still the meter is not understanding that it's a bidirectional meter, so it will calculate the double of it. So if you are installing a solar power plant, net meter has to be installed. There is no choice. Now normally I'll go slightly faster. There is a huge wind pressures at the top, so the panels flow out. So this has to be done very stipulously. Local preferences nowadays, this any Tom, Dick, Harry says that I can design a plan, I can install, and that is a big problem. Don't do that. If the expert person is not available, don't go for it. Normally the electrical engineering, having 2-3 years of experience, should go for it. And people will say at throwaway price that I will be installing this price. Somebody will say 50,000, somebody will say 40,000. Don't go for that. You will be stuck up at the end. Okay? So local preference should not be preferred at all. And there is a huge problem of impedance matching sometimes for a megawatt plants. If the transformer impedance and the solar power plants impedance are not matching, then it creates a problem. This issue I'd like to take with very specific persons who will be interested, because there is a huge technical details about it. Anyway, you should keep in the mind that there is such kind of problems. Calculate ROI. Large megawatts plants should be always preferred, because the pricing goes down and the payback period also goes down. PPA should be preferred. PPA means called as power purchase agreement. If somebody says I'm going to take your power, you install, then you should go for it. CapEx and RESCO models are all kind of different models. CapEx means I'm having money, I'm going to invest it, and you install. RESCO models are not like that. RESCO models are EMI models. Like I'm going to pay the amount to the distribution company, but in RESCO models you are going to pay the amount for solar companies. So solar companies will install plant for you, and you are going to pay the amount for them. So normally you pay it as a lesser cost. Okay, suppose you are going to pay the distribution company, suppose for 2 rupees per unit, then you will go for 1 rupee per unit. So that is how the model works. But RESCO models are not popular in India. They are more popular in the foreign countries, but in Uttarakhand and in Delhi side, RESCO models are more popular. Okay. Even you can form your own grid, local grid. You can say I'm installing a plant and I'll give it to all the residential and commercial buildings. And you pay the bill to me. That models can also work. Nowadays the permission has been granted. Farming solar farm is already there, and solar pumping systems must be installed for irrigated farm. So because see, pump starts on solar as the sun goes up, and it closed out as the sun goes down the night time. So this is an absolutely saving of power. You have to just install, and also you are going to get 30% subsidy. So drinking water storage can be done using solar pumps. Okay. So this is again a second case study of water lift irrigation system. I'm going slightly faster. If there is a problem, organizer, you can always interrupt. Now, water lift irrigation schemes are something else which is coming up very fast nowadays. Water lift irrigation system means you are going to lift the water from a big reservoirs, from a big hydro generating stations where waters are available in ample of quantity, and you have to distribute to the drinking water scheme, to the WTP, which is called as water treatment plant. What are VTPs? Are vertical turbine pumps. This is a very new technology where the pumps are kept in the vertical directions. They will be on for 24 hours. They will require less power, and their rigidity is more, like they're more rugged. Okay, so they are more rugged to the different kind of atmospheric conditions. And finally, the water treatment plant will distribute it to the localities. What are the management issues involved? I will be focusing on management issues for this project. Now, in Punasa water lifting scheme, actually it's a Narmada Valley Corporation Limited project, but somehow I could get or snatch the data from these persons. They have their own captive generation. So there is a hydropower station. You have a lot of water stored as a reservoir, and you are using the same water for a pumping station. And whatever water is left, you are lifting the same water with the piping network to distribute for drinking water. So what you require? You require a substation, because this is a dedicated line. So once the captive generation takes place, it's a 10 megawatts generation, it's a huge generation, you have a substation near to it. Substation is giving power to the pumping station, which is already in the base of that plant. And then there is a SCADA system being installed, and net metering. Net metering is done to calculate how much power is generated by these hydropower plants, because 10 megawatt is the maximum power capacity. It cannot be generated. It always works with 0.7% of efficiency, and even less than that, depends on the availability of water head at that time. Okay, anyway, I'll go in details. It's a 3-stage lifting scheme. 3 stages. You have to lift the water in 3 stages. So in the initial stage, what you will do is you are going to lift it. So there are 2 pumps which are working, one is standby. So 2 pumps have to be run proper. Standby pump is also there, because if certain pump goes wrong, you have to keep the 1 pump standby. So this is have a highest capacity, because the lifting power should be high initially. Then it is given to the second reservoir, which is called as balancing reservoir. So you are storing the water. So that is of a lesser capacity, and then is again stored at the 3rd level, which is again at a lower capacity, which is 600 kilowatt. So it's a 3-stage lifting. So you are lifting the water from 1st stage to the 2nd reservoir, 2nd reservoir to the 1st reservoir. And this is a lifting process, so you require management for it. Finally, what is the outcome? You have a 500 kilometers of piping network. You are handling 110 villages. The project is huge. It's a 243 crore project. And now Maharashtra government has given node to almost 10 water lifting irrigation schemes. So students can look from a job angle perspective as well. Now, if you try to find out the Gantt chart of it, the site selection may take and permission may take 6 months, because pollution certificates, installation certificates, everything has to be done. So 6 months normally is a pretty less time. Transportation of material to the site can be started when the permission is granted. Otherwise, you cannot transport the material and finally you realize that there is no permission that is being granted. So there are many issues from farmers' perspective point of view also. Piping work can be parallelly started as your transportation has been started. Switchgear assembly, like transformer, if there is generators, if there is captive power plants. So this, if there are no captive power plant, doesn't matter. There is a lake. You can even lift the water from the lake and give it to the WTPs, which is water treatment plant. Flow meters. Flow meters can be installed after 15 months. Flow meters will actually are the meters will measure that how much water is being flown in and how much water is being flowed out once you are calculating at WTP, that is water treatment plants. So water power, water you are pumping and what is the water you are giving at the output. The civil work to WP, because you have to carry the water pipes from one place to another. So parallel it can be started from 9 months. Then SCADA system is the electrical system to control everything. Now in this project, normally it is given to 110 villages. So they have handled so beautifully with this SCADA system. You can actually see how much water is there in the reservoir 1, how much water is there in the reservoir 2. So if there is no rains for even 6 months, you can still supply drinking water for 6 months without any rains. I mean, during the rainy season also, if there is no rains, so 6 months backup they have kept it in the balancing reservoir 1 and 2. Lastly, you can monitor and testing. I'm going slightly faster, otherwise I was about to focus more on the SCADA system because it's an animation type of system where you could see the water flow systems in the villages very nicely, and even if the villages are not paying the bills, then you can even stop that. So there is a calculation of government money also. They are giving at a very lesser price, and villagers are also getting their irrigated farming systems, drinking water, everything. So they are also happy. So they are also ready to pay the amount, which is comparatively less compared to the urban population sites. Anyway, civil work you can start from 9 months. SCADA system you can install after 18 months. You can start, and last you have to do monitoring and testing. It's a continuous process. So normally a water lift irrigation project is a 2 years project, maybe extend up to 3-4 months depending upon the delays that may happen, but normally it's a 2 years plan project. And within the 2 years, if you plan it in a very, I've not taken any data from any Google or any website. This is the actual data which I've taken from the company, and I have tried to squeeze it because I cannot give you all the data. Otherwise, the slides would have increased very exorbitantly. So I've tried to keep only the salient points which I can tell you. Okay, so that's why the presentation you can see is a slightly a squeezed presentation, and the particulars are also only the salient particulars points I have covered. Okay, so this project may go up to 2 years maximum, and this is how the management has to be done. To complete it within 2 months, monitor it closely. Now from management perspective, you have to calculate what is the returns on my investment, because I have invested 243 crores. So how we are going to get back to it? Through drinking project to farming project, and all this has management is done by SCADA project. This is a SCADA management system. So it is called as supervisory control and data acquisition system. So you can see in the animated form. So electrical engineers, this is a future area for you. Utility for farming and drinking, how you are creating a facility. So that facility has to be reached at the endpoints. So if it's a captive generation, you cannot go for thermal. You have to go for hydro because water is very near to you. So utilize that water. So there are now small generating stations, which are micro and pico generating stations coming up very fast. So like with small generation, you can manage a big generation by using the heads. Okay, and what you can do for future aspects is involve IoT. No need for any SCADA system which is made of human. You can even remotely control by your mobile. That is how you can chip your IoT systems. Camera detection, everywhere you can install the camera detections. Flow meters management, so the flow meters are automatically controlled whether water is needed, it is not needed. Base load and peak load calculations to be done, that how much actually water, if there is a base load, means this much water is permanently required. So you can reduce your pump sizing. If 2 are acting and 1 is standby, you can keep 2 as standby and 1 as acting. And even if there is a peak load, you can act all the 3 pumps parallelly and can match the water requirements during the peak times. And of course, one standby is always required because one pump may have a maintenance scheduling, their bearings may go off because it's a continuously rotating pump for 24 hours. So you can see if the bearing goes wrong, the belt gets break. So you can shift to another pump, maintain it, you can again shift it. So this 3 pumps management is always done in the pumping stations. Okay? So base load and peak load calculations you can do very scrupulously for the future generations. And I've given a flow chart from the management perspective what is to be done so that you can install a water, and this is the future requirement. I'm telling you, this is a war. Next time we are going to face a water war. So this is a system where we can manage ourselves. We can, from management perspective point of view, you can actually get involved in the systems, and then maybe you can say that this is a future. This is a future from job perspective as well. Okay, this is for the students. Rest of the things that can be a research area also. Okay, I'll go ahead to wind it up also because time is running short, and I've already crossed some time. But anyway, there were few hitches in the starting, so I would like to cover 5-10 minutes more, and I'll wind up. So this is a broad subject, and definitions may vary from person to person. Solar power plant, Punasa lift irrigation scheme. You require any details? I'm already having it. I've required from management perspective what is required. Technical details I have not shared because the presentation was not intended for that. Then SCADA itself is a huge system. Importance of Gantt charts and work breakdown structure. Everywhere you will be using this Gantt charts and work breakdown structure. And balancing reservoirs role in the important. It is very easy to tell that you have to keep reservoir for 6 months, but then the 6 months reservoir has to be also utilized, again kept it. It's like maintaining your balance in your bank, so you have to always keep your balance. So it's like same, you have to do your water management. Okay, so this is about the balancing reservoirs I've explained. I'm thankful to everyone, all the participants, dear students, all the heads of the departments from different colleges for sparing their valuable time. You can always be in touch with me with my mail ID. You can always WhatsApp my phone already there. This is the same number you can call, even WhatsApp. You have any questions, you can mail me. Mail will be the right media to answer because of shortage of time. Otherwise, any specific question with the organizer I would like to tell. Otherwise, we can stop for 10 minutes and then I'll start with the next presentation of Mr. Dr. K.D. Joshi, who will be stressing on data analysis for related to the power system. Very nice and beautiful session. You all can take 10-15 minutes break if you don't have any questions, and then again we can start.